Today is Friday, March 19th. Welcome to this edition of Nevada County Now. Today's episode, we're talking COVID update, bike paths, education opportunities, and more. This episode is brought to you in part by Stifel Financial. Hello and welcome to Nevada County Now. I'm your host, Cole Pettit. We've seen an increase of 74 COVID-19 cases since last week, bringing our total to 4,160 confirmed cases. 92 cases are currently active with 8 hospitalizations, and the death toll remains at 74. According to the state's data, our adjusted case rate dropped to 9.3, and our test positivity rate is at 4.4%, which is the first week we have met the red tier metrics. For more on the tier system and where we're at with vaccines, let's turn it over to Taylor Wolf, Public Information Officer for the County of Nevada.
Thank you, Cole. Pleasure to be here.
So you have another update for us, a little bit on the tier system and kind of what's going on with vaccines here. What's going on today?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start out with the tier system. So last Friday, the state changed the tier system according to an increase of vaccines. Doses getting into people's arms here in California. So this is really exciting news. Basically, what it means is since we are vaccinating our California residents, we're able to ease not the restrictions of the tier system, but make it easier to move through less restrictive tiers in the tier system. This Tuesday, for the first time in 17 weeks, Nevada County was able to meet that less restrictive red tier metrics. However, this does not mean we are able to move into that red tier yet. You do have to meet those metrics for 2 weeks in order to move. So next Tuesday, the 23rd, would mark that 2-week mark. And then actually, if we do make it for 2 weeks into those red tier metrics, Wednesday would be the day that those less restrictive modifications would go into effect.
So what can you tell us about vaccine distribution here in the county? How are we doing with that?
Yeah, it's going really well. We started out this conversation talking about statewide vaccine rollout and how we've met a state metric that allowed us to ease up on the tier movement, which is great. And it's going well here locally in Nevada County as well. As of Wednesday, the state is reporting 35,203 vaccine doses that have gone into people's arms, which is really exciting news. We have a resident population of about 100,000. And just with that 65 plus in some of our eligibility, we're probably sitting around 40,000 people eligible. So you might hear 35,000 and 40,000, of course, and think we're really close to vaccinating everyone eligible. But many of the vaccines, actually 2/3 of the vaccines that we're working with right now are 2-dose vaccines. And this number does represent doses administered, not people vaccinated. So that is important to remember, but we continue to receive healthy allocations from the state each week. We continue to increase the amount of appointments we're able to share with people through the myturn.ca.gov system and our Grass Valley Clinic. So all those are really exciting news. We are still working through and trying to get the notification system with My Turn happening, but we are hopeful it will happen soon. We continue to test and move forward in that area. So definitely sign up because it could come a time where we release appointments and you do get that email and text, and it makes it just that much more easier to get that appointment and get vaccinated.
Any other changes or updates or anything else that you need people to know right now?
Yeah, I think just continuing to be diligent about those non-pharmaceutical interventions that we have now been talking about officially for a year, the masking, social distancing, washing your hands, but really importantly, avoiding social gatherings too. Again, I think we're at a place where vaccines are really exciting. We're starting to vaccinate some of our frontline workers that are eligible, such as grocery store workers or restaurant workers are eligible through food and ag, as well as that 65 plus. So that's all really exciting to see, but we still need to be diligent and slow the spread so we can move through that tier system as well. But we just thank everyone for sticking with everything the past year and staying tuned and staying safe.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk with us today, Taylor.
Thank you, Cole.
Thanks, Taylor. Wednesday, Nevada County Public Health hosted another media Q&A where Public Health Director Jill Blake and Public Health Officer Dr. Scott Kellerman gave us some additional information. Let's take a brief look.
Just welcome the opportunity to share good information with you all. I think you saw that our data qualified us for the red tier this week. We are cautiously optimistic about that because we've also seen our cases increase, and because the state uses an episode date, not the date that we report it, we just don't know how that translates. So we are hopeful that we will move to the red tier because we hope that our cases will be low enough for us to do so, but that will take the effort of everyone to get there. So I think we're feeling cautiously optimistic this week. I'll just say that.
Thanks. Immunizations are going well. Whispering Pines Clinic is cranking up. There was a mass immunization clinic by Joseph Fitzpatrick of the Dignity Medical Group, and I think they immunized 800 or so. I mean, it was quite substantial. Last Saturday, there are several more immunization clinics planned on weekends, and we're partnering. It's turns out Blue Shield. Some of the negotiations have been a little problematic for the practitioners, and so we have a network of practitioners and FQHCs and working with Sierra Nevada Hospital and Chappaday. They're getting obviously vaccinations from separate streams, and then with pharmacies. But we've established a pretty good network for delivery of vaccines. So we're not sitting on any vaccines. All the vaccines that come through us are quickly passed out to our partners, or we use them.
Is there any data, either county or statewide, about vaccines that are not making it into people's arms and are effectively wasted?
I can tell you, I think the state's reporting on that, but we as Nevada County Public Health haven't wasted one dose. But wow. I will say that and so again, this might be a little too much in the weeds, but, so we are sometimes scrambling at the end of the day if we have an extra dose. That's how we use that standby list, and we still have so many eager people who want to be vaccinated, so they show up on short notice. But I will say, and again, this is probably too much in the weeds, but
as a reminder, new COVID-19 vaccination appointments for the Whispering Pines Clinic in Grass Valley become available for scheduling Fridays at 12 p.m. on myturn.ca.gov. Nevada County will continue to post new appointment availability for the Whispering Pines Clinic at 12 p.m. on Fridays for now. And remember to stay up to date with the latest on the COVID vaccine. You can sign up for text alerts by texting vaccine info to 898-211. You can call 211 to speak to a call specialist. Visit mynevadacounty.com/coronavirus/vaccine or sign up with MyTurn by visiting myturn.ca.gov. Whether it's for health reasons or to reduce environmental impacts, many people are looking towards cycling as a means of transport. Unfortunately, here in a rural community, options for bike paths tend to be limited. Mary Jane Hunegart looked at the process for getting bike paths built.
Hello, Nevada County. I'm Mary Jane, a fellow citizen of this fair county and NCN's political correspondent. Whether you enjoy it for fitness or as a way to save bucks on gas, cycling is, without a doubt, a healthy way to cover some ground, healthy for you and healthy for our environment. But here in our community, we really have to drive cars everywhere unless we live right in or close to town. And even those who live in town might or might not have a safe bike route. It all depends on where you live. We do, however, have a thriving cycling community up here, and they are working to make our county more bike-friendly. There's a long, storied, even global history here that impacts where we are today, but I'm going to stick with recent history for now. In 2013, Governor Jerry Brown signed SB 99 and AB 101, to be specific, to consolidate existing federal and state transportation programs into the Active Transportation Program, or ATP. Then, in 2017, he signed SB 1, which assigned $100 million of revenues to fund ATP programs. ATP, Active Transportation Program. Active transportation refers to either human-powered transportation or getting around using low-speed electronic assist devices. To position itself to benefit from the new funding, Nevada County Transportation Commission, the NCTC, which is responsible for administering a lot of the state and federal transportation funding that comes to Nevada County, hired a consulting firm and did public outreach. The commission took this input, swept it together with existing bicycle and pedestrian plans, and formed the countywide active transportation plan, approved by the NCTC in 2019. The plan, which will be updated every 5 years with community input, helps jurisdictions in their effort to secure a piece of that $100 million set aside for ATP in California for local improvements to active transportation facilities. ATP is a competitive application, and like many other statewide programs, it's hard for rural communities to compete due to metrics. Funding decisions are largely made based on the number of people a specific improvement will serve. A new bike lane on Combi was recently denied ATP funding, likely due to being projected to serve only 10 people or so a day, while a new bike lane in Sacramento would serve thousands of people a day. One project in Western Nevada County that has scored relatively well in ATP grant rounds is the Multi-Modal Corridor on State Route 49, between the 49 and 20 split at year end, all the way to Juvenile Hall. Several concerned citizens brought the idea to NCTC to make that stretch of 49 to be safer for pedestrians and cyclists. With partnership support from Caltrans, their idea and brainstorms became a solid application for ATP funding. Unfortunately, we recently learned that the application fell just short of making it through. NCTC will debrief to figure out where the application can be improved, and then the project will be resubmitted in the next funding cycle in about 2 years. A recent project in Truckee fared a bit better. ATP granted the funds for portions of the Legacy Trail along the Truckee River. It's a well-used bike path, both for tourists and locals. If you haven't checked it out, it's a sweet, pretty ride, not to mention a great alternative to driving on that section of road. There are many other transportation programs. So many, it's a little mind-boggling, and they all have their own fun acronym. Another major funding stream that has funded bike lane projects around here is a federal program called CMAQ, which stands for Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality. Once a project is denied ATP funding, one next step, which is the step that will be taken now for the Combi Road bike lane, is to see if we can tap into our CMAQ funds. Meanwhile, at the jurisdiction or city levels, while they constantly collaborate with NCTC on improvement projects, they also have their own bike lane and active transportation projects going on. In Grass Valley, pedestrian and bike paths have been in the City Council's strategic goals for years, hoping to attract and keep younger families here. And families want bikeable and walkable communities. Residents agree, passing Measure N in 2012 and then Measure E in 2018, raising local sales taxes to fund infrastructure, including putting in more bike lanes. One significant project underway is the continuance of the Wolf Creek Trail, which the city is working on extending all the way up through downtown by Safeway to Bennett, then up to Idaho, Maryland, and Sutton, where it would meet with the planned bike path at the new Loma Rica development. In addition to City Council's prioritizing bike lanes, Grass Valley also happens to employ engineers that bike to work every day. So there's a culture of cycling as a viable mode of transportation to and from work. Grass Valley has even added a frontage requirement to new developments. That means a new business or development must include a curb, gutter, sidewalk, and either an actual, preferably class 2, I believe, bike lane, or a portion of width in the passing road to ensure a bike lane can be added in the future. I mentioned before that Nevada County has a thriving cycling community, committed to making the county a more bicycle-friendly place to live. One of the most prominent active representatives of the cycling community is Nevada City's Vice Mayor, Dwayne Strasser, former owner of Tour of Nevada City Bicycle Shop and local bike race organizer. He has been advocating for a broader network of bike paths for over 15 years. Together with local engineers, Mr. Strasser mapped out a Class 1 bike path that would be safe for children to use safely to bike to school, to Deer Creek and Seven Hills from several areas of Nevada City. Other potential areas where Strasser hopes bike lanes would benefit the community are around areas of congestion. SPD is one example. The store installed bike racks, but there is no designated safe way to ride a bicycle to get there. The affordable housing project at Gold Run, Zion, and Searles, which will be 54 to 46 units, will create congestion. The sidewalk they'll install will be a step, but once they are off the property, people will need a safe way to walk or bike down to the services instead of driving 2 blocks. Other potential areas where Strasser hopes bike lanes would benefit the community are around areas of congestion. SPD is one example. The store installed bike racks, but there is no designated safe way to ride a bicycle to get there. The affordable housing project at Gold Run, Zion, and Searles, which will be 54 to 56 units, will create congestion. The sidewalk they'll install will be a step, but once they are off the property, people will need a safe way to walk or bike down to services instead of driving 2 blocks. While the interest in bike lanes is definitely there in Nevada City, the city has a unique set of challenges, including narrower streets and a different culture when it comes to funding measures. Nevada City hopes to apply for ATP grant funding from the state, and they're working with NCTC and members of local active transportation interest groups. The goal is to conceptualize a project that will coordinate a lot of elements together into a combined proposal large enough for the ATP program. Through projects and policies like these, along with the countywide active transportation plan, Grass Valley, Nevada City, and NCTC are ensuring citizens have a vibrant bicycle network. I asked county officials whether we would ever see a continuous bike lane along 49 connecting Higgins Corner with Grass Valley. Wouldn't that be nifty? I can imagine starting at the bottom and huffing and puffing up the hill, then turning around and coasting all the way back down. Of course, it would also be practical to mitigate the congestion we see on 49 and to provide an alternate way for people to commute. Essentially, it's really challenging to fund the construction of a highway project for the 8-foot shoulders that would be needed for a Class 3 bike lane. However, in partnership with Caltrans, NCTC is working on it. They are going by 2-mile segments for now, eventually aiming to get continuous connectivity through that corridor. Be on the lookout for your chance to speak up with input for the next active transportation plan. And check out the NCTC website, nctc.ca.gov. The website also has info about upcoming meetings and how to provide public comment. I'd like to thank the people who took the time to speak with me regarding Nevada County's bike lanes. In alphabetical order, thank you Tim Kieser, Grass Valley City Manager. Thank you Dwayne Strausser, Vice Mayor of Nevada City. Thank you Tricia Tillotson, Director of Public Works, Nevada County. And thank you Mike Woodman, Executive Director, Nevada County Transportation Commission. If you have a question about politics you'd like me to try my best to answer, email it to me at ncnpolitics@gmail.com, and I may use it as the topic of an upcoming segment. It has been my privilege to bring you a brief piece on a local political issue. See you again in 2 weeks, same time, same place. I'll be discussing a topic somewhat related to bike lanes, the vehicle miles traveled standard. And remember, when it comes to politics, if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. Thanks for staying informed, Nevada County.
Thanks, Mary Jane. We're very lucky here in Nevada County to have many dedicated teachers and staff that are constantly working to provide unique educational opportunities for our students. One of these is Nevada Union librarian Jill Sonnenberg, who arranges guest speakers and interviews for students to participate in. Perhaps her biggest name so far will be taking place next Wednesday, the 24th, when she welcomes Ellie Honig, a former federal and state prosecutor and CNN contributor. I talked with Jill about what she's doing for her students and her upcoming interview.
I'm enjoying my 14th year at Nevada Union High School. I have just absolutely loved every minute of my time in the library. I worked quite a while with Annie Hesbeck, who's was just a wonderful teammate, as well as the rest of my colleagues, wonderful students. With this having been said, I have to say this is my last year at Nevada Union. I'm taking a position over at Silver Springs next year as their intervention coordinator, and this was just confirmed at our board meeting last night. So I'm very happy. I actually don't want to scoop the scoop, but there is a scoop as far as who's taking my job next year, and let's just say I'm really delighted.
So it sounds like, at least in comparison to my time there, you have a lot more interaction with the students than at least I remember happening, at least for me.
Oh, well, I like to believe that. I have a major investment in them as people and as not necessarily laborers, but worker, feeling like a part of a larger community. So being a part of the workforce to me in Nevada County means everything to me. Being a part of education means everything to me. And I want that feeling. I want the kids to have that feeling too, where they are just part of something bigger and contributing to society. I love seeing my students that work out in the community because they're proud of themselves and they should be. I feel like our community does an excellent job on many, many levels to encourage this. Another really joyful part of my job is working with authors. And over the years, actually, I've hosted several authors and professors. Whenever we need subject matter experts, we tend to import people. Skype, before Zoom, Skype was the way we did it. And it seemed really forward thinking at that time. Now it's pretty commonplace. Obviously, it's all we have. But interestingly, experts can be very generous with their time. So recently I was on Twitter and there were some people kind of in the higher echelons of political thought, and they were talking about we should donate some time to the schools. And I was like, yeah, you should donate some time to my school, you know. And the next thing you know, I was in this discussion planning mode with an individual that is often found on CNN. He's a legal analyst by the name of Ellie Honig. He is often called to answer questions about current legal affairs. With that being said, interviewing people is one of my greatest joys because I'm super interested in people. So, I think you have one of the best jobs in the world because I just think that people are fascinating. And so getting them to say the next interesting thing is the goal. And while I'm nervous, I'm super excited because I think he's right there with just at the cutting edge with a podcast as well that people could track down. It's called Third Degree. It's well received. So I'm just watching what he does and trying to become more educated about the things he knows. But I will say that he's pretty quick. So I'm a little concerned about being a country bumpkin in this case, but I'm willing to take the chance.
Thanks, Jill. Starting today, March 19th, the Sierra State Parks Foundation will host the 2021 Arbor Day Tree Hunt, which will run for 6 weeks. The scavenger hunt encourages the Lake Tahoe community to explore the outdoors and gain new knowledge of local tree species. Each week of the contest, the foundation will highlight a different tree species native to Lake Tahoe on their website, email list, Facebook, and Instagram. Participants are asked to find that week's highlighted tree, photograph themselves with it, and then post the selfie on their social media, tagging at Sierra State Parks Foundation on Instagram and Sierra State Parks Foundation on Facebook. Each tree selfie will be one entry towards the Arbor Day raffle. Winners will be announced on Arbor Day, April 30th. Sierra State Parks Foundation invites people of all ages to participate in the Arbor Day Tree Hunt. The winner will receive a prize package mailed to them. The 8 California state parks at Lake Tahoe and Donner Lake is the home of over 11,000 acres of precious forest with over 15 unique tree species. For more information about this event and other events sponsored by the Sierra State Parks Foundation, call 530-583-9911 or visit sierrastateparks.org. Next Thursday, March 25th, we're hosting our third telethon-style event, this one called Down the Rabbit Hole, and is Alice in Wonderland themed. For this fundraiser, we've teamed with the Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital Foundation, and all donations are split equally. Join us on Thursday at 6 p.m. on Comcast Channel 11, on our Facebook page, or on our website, nevadacountymedia.org, and click Watch Now. We'll leave you this evening with some bloopers from the filming for this event. And remember, stay safe, take care of each other. We'll see you next week.
Mr. Illusion, you're just so funny. We're just so glad to have you join us today. Thank you for that. I thought you were going to say the thing about the car, and you just told me you were. God.
No, I thought that was hysterical. I purposely didn't say anything because I wanted to see what the dead pause would look like. I could have jumped in and saved you, and it's more fun just to see what happened.
Whole scene 12, take 1.
Gary, thanks a bunch. Oh, God, I have to wait all the time. I'm sick of it. Very delicious this time of year. Hey, thanks, everybody. We will see you next year for our next big shindig, and I just blew the ending. That would have been great.
Next July.
That would have been great, and I blew it.
Let's keep rolling.
All right, okay.